you can pull it away from the wall or whatever you need to do. Give me 2 seconds.
The sign says no cell phones.
You're fine. If it was something I didn't want you to have in here,
Okay.
I'm not worried about you. It's usually like a bad guy or, you know.
I understand.
Okay, so like I said, I literally just got this today, printed it, and I really haven't had a chance to look at it. I did not see your name listed in the report. Your first name was Matthew?
Matthew.
Now my pen won't write. 2 T's?
Correct.
And same last name as your mom?
Correct.
And Harriet's your mom?
Harriet and my grandmother.
Okay,
And-
so
and she's-
Eileen is your mom.
Correct.
Okay. So just forgive me if I'm a little behind the time here.
I am in no rush.
Okay, your date of birth?
8/17/1990.
And where do you live?
Williamsport, Pennsylvania.
Oh, so you're like down visiting.
You could say that. I'm down here a lot. I fill in the gaps, and I have been for the last several years.
Okay. And what's your address up there?
960 Valmont Drive, VALLAMONT,
Okay, and what's the zip?
17701.
And a good phone number for you.
570-974-7378.
Alright. Okay, so Howard is your uncle,
Correct.
just so I can try to keep it pretty straight. And then Harriet is your grandma?
Correct. Who's now deceased.
Okay. When did she pass?
The 17th.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. And then Eileen is your mom.
Correct.
So what we're concerned about today is your mom.
There's a few different moving parts in this whole situation, and I need to I need to express myself because the whole picture isn't being put on the black and white.
Okay.
And I'm just afraid somebody's going to get hurt. Somebody's going to do something stupid.
I mean, in what way?
My uncle, he's a good cop. He's good at what he does.
Mm-hmm.
It's impossible to fire him because he outperforms. He's gotten caught doing shitty things, red-handed, and he never pursued anything.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing ever got filed. Nothing.
Where does he work?
Pinellas County,
Okay.
and he has a track record of doing sadistic things. And as he gets older, it gets worse and worse.
Okay.
And this is something that my mother has been dealing with her whole life. My grandmother's been dealing with her whole life, and grandfather's been dealing with. And he's a lot to handle, and he has since been, I call it cleaved off from familial matters,
Okay.
and purposely kept at a distance because he's extremely toxic. And I have a whole bunch of evidence that would paint that picture.
Okay.
And I, as a humanist, I don't blame him. I highly respect my uncle. I love him to death, but he has a few nuts and bolts rattling around.
Okay.
If that makes sense. And I'm concerned about what he's capable of, what he's already done, and as of yesterday, sending a sheriff to my door to ask me questions that aren't based, I don't believe are based in Florida law. The sheriff that came and asked me, that came to ask my mom questions, and I had a recording that I would like to play for you.
What is that a recording of?
My interaction with Officer Smith.
Okay.
And
You do know that it's against the law, for law, to record somebody without their consent?
There's consent.
By the deputy? You told the deputy that you were recording the conversation?
Of course.
Okay. Well, I didn't know. I'm just saying, I'm letting you know that unless there's, I agree to...
I'm a litigious
Okay.
person.
Okay, I'm just asking.
And he acknowledged, verbally acknowledged.
Okay.
So, you know, there's no, problem there. And, the baseline rationale for why he showed up at the doorstep yesterday, it was a verbal catastrophe of the reason that he gave to come there to talk. What the words that he gave didn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It's barely English. So I would like to play that for you, just so that you're aware, just so you can see my perspective on this is my brother sending the goon squad after me, and not after me, after my mother, because he wants my mother dead.
Okay. Does he
So-
still work for Pinellas County?
That's what makes it so difficult, because it's hard to get a lawyer, because no lawyer in this county will fucking touch my case because he's a cop.
What attorneys have you spoken with?
Buck, Hook,
Like BUCK?
correct.
Okay.
The one on Spring Hill by the coin shop has a funny last name.
Is it almost towards 19?
It's almost at
Is it
19.
like a really long name?
I think so. If I can Google
Okay.
that, you know,
So you've already consulted with, how many different attorneys did you consult with?
4, 5 maybe. And so, you know, it's a similar situation to up north in my zip code, where it's very hard to have a lawyer go after another lawyer. It's hard to get a lawyer to go after a police officer dying, which I totally understand. You know, that's, you know, I'm 100% with that. So I'm struggling in that regard.
Okay.
So so it's very difficult for me to defend myself and to defend my mother while she's still breathing against somebody who's so toxic and who is not allowed to be in the development. You know, because my grandfather lived in a gated community, Wellington.
Okay.
So, you know, you have to be on the list to get into the, you know, in there. And he's not on the list, but he just uses his privilege to go into, to bypass the guardhouse because he just flashes the badge.
Right.
And unfortunately, there's no legal mechanism, because we said, hey, don't let Howard in. You know, he's a persona non grata. And they can't do anything if he flips a badge. So we're in this weird situation where we can't get any help to help counter this. I believe that he purposely stressed out my grandmother and, you know, to put her in the grave. And I believe that he's doing the same exact tactic with my mother, trying to get her as stressed out as possible so that he can be executor of the will, executor of the trust. He has financial motivations because he's always been in debt.
Okay.
You know, in debt, crazy stuff.
But right now you're POA, you're the executor, you're everything.
Yes, but he doesn't know that.
Okay.
And that's my problem. I can't engage with him because I'm actually afraid of what he's capable of. And if he is throwing Hernando County deputies at me for garbage reasons, there's nothing that stops him from, and this is what I'm sort of alluding to. He has a track record of working with the bad guys. He has bad guys in his contact list. So I'm deathly afraid that if he doesn't get any traction with you guys, you know, using you guys as a tool, he's gonna send the cartels or some other local gang to do his dirty work.
Well, what does he do for Pinellas? Like, do you know where his job assignment is or anything?
Just
Is he like a road patrol deputy?
I believe so.
Okay.
Patrol officer.
Okay.
So again, it's a lot of speculation. It's a lot of crystal ball stuff. But I've been, you know, I can predict it, you know, predict his every move, and which I have been because I've been here physically interdicting, you know, his steps. I'm anticipating what he's doing,
Okay.
and I can read him like a book.
Does your mom live by herself on a regular basis?
Now she does.
Okay.
But for the past 3.5 years, actually longer than that, since 2019, she's been down here as a caretaker of Grandpa, because Grandpa was sick. When my father died, she was a caretaker for my father. 2019, father died, came down here, took care of Grandpa. Grandpa died in 2020, and then she was a caretaker for Grandma, because everybody was sort of falling apart at the same time.
Yeah. Until Grandma passed the 17th of
This
September? Okay.
Yeah. So now Howie's, he's been, again, cleaved off from anything family related, and again, I'll reiterate, he has a lot of, I have a lot of documentation that, shows that will paint that picture, that he's pretty toxic, even with his own family and with us and with Grandma and Grandpa. Everybody wants to keep their distance as far as possible away from him, and that's what we've been trying to do. But now he's all of a sudden he's back on the scene, and he's making all sorts of threats, to my, because again, he walks right into the house, and he also most recently when my grandmother was still alive, he had come in the house and just threatened to just put my mother in jail extrajudiciously. Just, you're going to jail. I'm going to put you in jail. Said those things, and that was enough to get my mom to have a stroke, and he knows that. My mom has always been the weak one. So
she has some significant medical issues, or?
Yeah. She's always battled with weight, and in fact the whole family has. She's had diabetes for a while. She's had a triple bypass, I think in 2016 or 2017, and then she's just recently had the last 2 months or so. She's had 4 strokes, just stress related from that I attribute to Howard, right? So Grandma's a whole different set of problems, because she was having a significant decline. And
but your mom has no decline in mental capacity, or?
Now she is, because again, she just had 4. They characterize them as mini strokes.
Okay.
But she's now in the rehab. She's right down the street here on 50 at Compass, and
is that the one that's over here down by Oak Hill Hospital, like out that way?
Yeah.
Okay.
And by the way, I don't want her contacted either, because she is in a weakened state psychologically, and I am here right now with the sole purpose of trying my hardest to keep uniformed officers with badges and guns away from my mother.
Okay.
I have no problem with them coming and asking her questions if there's any sort of criminal suspicion, or if there's any if it has to be done.
It will have to be done, and I'll tell you why. Because you can come in here and tell me whatever it is that you want to tell me, all the things that have gone on, all the things she's told you about. But for me, in order to try to put something together, it has to come from her. Like, if you're not in the house and she told you he came over, said this, did that.
It's all hearsay.
Right, so I will have to sit and talk with her. I mean, I dress like this with a badge and gun. I'm not in a uniform. I mean, it's about as non-threatening as I could possibly be.
I would like to do that as soon as possible.
Okay.
And because I'm not a resident here. No,
Okay.
I'm only here. I shouldn't even be here. I gotta be back up north ASAP. So as much as this situation that I would like to get resolved as quickly as possible while I'm here, while I'm capable, while I have the opportunity. And I don't know if I can, you can squeeze that in.
I can probably do something Thursday. And in the meantime, do you have a way of sending me, email, if I give you my email, can you email me the documents that you have, so I have a chance to look them over before I go talk to her?
Well, that's also the other part of my concern, is because first off, I would like to play this interaction with Officer Smith from.
Well, I was gonna have you email it to me also.
I have all the documents in the world, all the living trust, the living wills, all that stuff, and it's all been notarized. It's all kosher. No funny business has gone on. No changes have been made for years.
Okay.
changes were made over time because of Howie's toxicity. And poor Howie doesn't know any of the changes, and he's not going to be happy when he finds out what the changes are.
Okay.
So I am specifically, from my point of view, from my shoes, I want to keep that information off of your database so that because you guys, you're just gonna upload it and you're gonna scan it and he's gonna have access to it.
Well, here's the problem. In order for us to do a complete investigation and you turning over documents, it makes it part of the case file. I can try to block it to where he can't get it, or they have to have authorization from me. I don't know what I can do to block it, but like I said, if you're turning over documents that are part of something that potentially could turn criminal, it's part of the investigation. And it's just like I said, just like it is talking to your mom, and I can't change that.
So the other part that I'm a little flustered about is that what exact claims were made and what type of tree is Hernando County pursuing? Because again, there was a lot of red flags that went up yesterday when I had my interaction with Officer Smith, and I couldn't get a straight answer, and he had no idea what the hell he was talking about. He didn't know what he was fishing for. He brought his fishing pole, he didn't bring the right bait, right? You know, and I didn't want to offend him, and I didn't want to shit on him too hard, but it was a bunch of garbage, and that garbage came directly from Howie.
Okay.
So
you can get a copy of the police report on the way out. I can't make a copy and give it to you, but you certainly can get a copy from our records section. You should be able to just walk up to the window and get a copy of it now. What I will say is anybody can make any kind of allegations they want, whether they're true or not. So the deputy probably, like you said, probably had a one-sided story from him, and he's coming to you to try to find out the truth. Obviously, when I talk to somebody, you know, if you were the bad guy, I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag of what I know. I'm going to ask you questions, which is going to cause you to be a little...
The fact that you're asking questions agitates me, right? The fact that this is, that this whole grieving process for me isn't, you know, both my grandparents are dead.
Right.
The estate goes to probate. Okay, what are you doing?
What am I doing? I just got the report. I told you I haven't been able to even look at the whole thing. But if you feel like you have pieces to the missing parts that may be in here, because like I said, I literally have not read it.
So that shouldn't exist, right?
No, whoever made the report, the deputy came out and took the police report.
What is the... First off, I need to understand what the claim is.
Okay, but like I said...
There's no funny business, and everything that... There's a whole bunch of legal documents, and they're all registered. They're all on file with every lawyer that it needs to be. There's financial institutions that have it. There's no funny business going on. What I'm trying to express is that there is a potential abuse of power from my uncle who's using you guys as stooges to intimidate my mother and kill her. That's my, you know, hot take.
Right.
You know,
but what I'm saying is I can't, if he's using his position of authority for bad things, you know, that's something, obviously that is something Pinellas County Sheriff's Office would look at in conjunction with what we're doing.
But it's not, it's a lawyer thing. I should have gotten a visitation from the postmaster with a piece of certified mail from the lawyer if there was any questions at all regarding the legitimacy of any sort of documents that I may possess. So the fact that you guys are, that Officer Smith showed up to look at, to demand for me documents, or because remember he threatened me, because we still haven't listened to this interaction, which I really don't want to have public, but I'm not afraid to put this in the court of public opinion, because it looks really shitty and it sounds really shitty, and even my Second Amendment people, they're not going to like what they hear about, because I carry inside the house, open carry, and some of the things that he did and he said is not really warranted. And so I really don't want to pull that shitty card, but I am capable of it, and it's petty, and I really want to avoid as much stress as possible. Again, my main interest is keeping my mother alive. She's the only thing I have, right? Howie wants to kill her. Howie wants to knock her off.
Okay, well, we'll read the report together, and then if you want to get a copy of it, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah.
Because I'm just gonna be upfront with you right now. I'll take the recording. I have no problem listening to it. If there's something that was done maliciously or wrong by the deputy, I have no problem reporting that.
I don't wanna bark up that tree, I don't wanna get him in
Okay.
trouble.
But this is what I'm telling you. I'll read this and we'll see
communicate.
where we're at, okay? Because if none of this is true and the documents that you possess you feel are going to refute what he says, then we can make that official.
Yeah.
But if you don't wanna turn those documents over to me, to refute anything, to show that this is what it is, cause you're afraid it's gonna become public, I can't force you to.
I am here
You know what I'm saying?
to understand what the claims are
Okay,
that
so
are being levied.
yeah, let's go again. Okay, well, I don't know that your name is not even mentioned in this report, so I don't know that it was anything necessarily like bad said towards you. You know what I'm saying? So here's what it's. Are you staying at the Wexford address right now? With your mom?
Well, that's where I stay when I come down.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
Yeah.
So basically, Howard made a report of a possible scheme to defraud. He said that he was informed by his mother, Harriet Miller. Is that his mom?
Yeah, that's
Okay,
my mom.
that's grandma who's deceased. That, I'm just making sure I'm reading this right. Like I said, because I haven't read this yet. That Harriet wanted everything back to the way it was prior to Howard's sister Eileen having her sign documents that she was not aware of that she was signing. So if I'm understanding that, he's basically saying that Eileen had your grandmother sign documents without her knowledge, or she wasn't aware of what she was signing, okay? That's the way that I take that. Is that the same way you take that?
Yeah,
Okay.
but again, the evidence of when she made the changes was several years ago,
Mhm.
and she was in 100% state of mind, as well
Right.
as Grandpa was in
Okay.
100% state
And
of
that's
mind.
fine. Like I said, anybody can say anything they want.
And
It's
that's,
a matter of,
Yeah.
what's true, what's not true.
he doesn't know that. He doesn't know any of this.
Okay. It says Eileen had moved down from Pennsylvania 2 years ago and moved in with their mother to take care of her, and Harriet did not want to cause issues with Eileen. Howard said that Harriet requested Howard take her to an accountant to remove the quitclaim deed that Harriet had signed over to Eileen and wanted it to put back this way prior to it being signed. Howard advised Eileen allegedly found out that Howard was going to take Harriet to get this done, and supposedly Eileen called Harriet's doctor to have him send a letter to the accountant advising that Harriet was not able to make decisions on her own. That's all really easy to find out, subpoena medical records. So I'm just saying we can refute that. Prior to the meeting with the accountant taking place, Harriet passed away. So therefore, any and all documents signed over to Eileen were kept that way. So basically, whatever documents you have, he's saying are as is. If I'm reading this correctly, he's making allegations against your mom that she had grandma sign papers that she wasn't aware of what she was signing. So, he advised that he had audio recordings from Harriet informing him that she wanted all the documents she signed changed back to the way they were prior to the day she signed them. He wasn't able to provide those recordings. So, I mean, he hasn't really provided anything to show anything disputing anything. Supposedly there was an indication that Eileen had removed money from Harriet's account, giving it to her kids in the sum of $15,000. That sound familiar?
There was all sorts of payments that have been going
Okay.
back and
Okay.
forth between
And
my
that's,
mother and me.
yeah, and that's, when there's an estate that happens, I mean,
Yeah.
I get that.
And my mother was in charge of all the financial stuff for the last 3-4 years.
Okay. It says Howard advised that he believed Eileen coerced Harriet into signing documents knowing she didn't understand what she was signing. Howard believes this theft is a deception of a scheme to defraud. You know, and it's like I told you, if there was something with your mom that your mom was a victim and you didn't want me to talk to her, if I don't hear from her, it didn't happen. So with Harriet not being here, I don't have a good witness, victim, or whatever you would like to refer to her as. You know, it's like, this is all hearsay what he's saying. There's nothing to prove anything to what he's alleging, okay? The deputy asked Howard if there was a will in place as to who shows entitlement. Howard said there was, but he did not have a copy of the will or any documents to prove his claim at this time. Howard advises that Eileen refuses to provide any documents to Howard. Howard advised that he believes Eileen has stolen between 1 to 3 million of money, jewelry, and artwork over the time period she took care of your grandmother. He said that he's hired an attorney and wants everything put back into place. As far as the documents, I don't know what attorney. And then that's when I guess the deputy went out to talk to your mom. Your name is in here, but written in here, but like I said, when you look at as far as who the deputy had contact with, your information's not in there, which is, and then that's when you came into play. So I don't understand, I mean, there's no crime there is a crime that's alleged, but he has nothing to prove any merit. So this was actually just written up as an information report, it was not written as any crime,
Okay.
okay?
Yeah, because that was sort of my concern when I had the interaction with Deputy Smith,
Okay.
was that he was, again, it's comical now, but at the time I got.
Well, you get
my
blindsided by a
opinion-
deputy knocking on your door with all these questions.
Well, they weren't questions. He was, it was a English catastrophe of what he was there for, the reason that he was there.
Okay.
So right off the bat, I was not in a mood to hand over documents and say,
Right.
no, these are real, look at these, because when he came to look and ask to see documents, I said, no, Howard, no thank you. Because he is essentially like a stooge for Howard, and that's how I interpreted it. Now that I know that there's an official claim, a legal accusation, because that's what this is, every single claim that he just made, I can disprove with those documents, and I can provide a timeline, I can provide witnesses that would disprove.
But it's more civil at this point, from what I'm seeing in the way the report was written up. He's saying your mom took this, but the way the report's written up is just an information report, it's not a crime.
Grandma has been deemed, what's the medical term where they lose their faculties?
Lacks capacity?
Yeah, the informed consent. She hasn't had informed consent for the last year, two years or so, and that's why Mom took over everything, because mom was a caretaker. Mom was paying all the bills and stuff, and so Howard, because he self-separated and removed himself from the family, and we pushed off too. He doesn't know any of that. He didn't realize that whenever he had this interaction with my grandmother, that she was completely, the word in Jewish is ishkabibbled, which is a funny word, and but she was completely, if she had 8 cylinders up here, she was running on 1.
Okay.
Her mouth worked great. It worked 100%. She could win an Oscar award for some of the stuff that she did and some of the stuff that she was saying, but the horsepower behind it, it isn't there.
Right.
And she would spout words, and it didn't make much sense. And I can provide a little bit of context as well for the record. When she made these claims, and when she was telling all this to Howard, my mother just had her first stroke. And she was in the hospital, and she was looking to stay in the hospital for a week and then do the rehab for a few weeks. And then Grandma can't take care of herself. Like she has senior needs. And so we were trying to get Grandma into Atria, the senior living facility. And we took, her Grandma and my sister came down, and my mother, we all went down to Atria. We bought the furniture. We were going to move Grandma in temporarily, 2 weeks. Just so that mom can recover from the fucking stroke that she had. Yeah. And Grandma was going to be there. Grandma had a flip got switched in her head where Mom was rejecting Grandma, and Grandma all of a sudden did not want to be in the box as she called it, and she didn't want to be put in the cookie jar.
Yeah.
And so she had a negative reaction all of a sudden, even though she was on board with going in temporarily on board with it. And so she had, and all of a sudden, my mother turned into the devil overnight. She went from best friend and caretaker and the center of her world to the devil.
That happens a lot with caretakers though, unfortunately, when you get people with, you know, memory issues or anything like that, unfortunately.
Any sort of drastic change in her living situation causes that sort of reaction. I understand that. I saw that with my own two eyes. My sister saw that with her own two eyes. My mother experienced it. Howie didn't. Howie just got a phone call out of the clear blue at 4 o'clock in the morning, because that's when Grandma did this on her phone, and we took her phone privileges away,
Yeah.
you know, because she did this and she was waking up everybody at 4 in the morning, and she's telling Howard all this nonsensical things that aren't true, and poor Howie doesn't know. He has no idea her mental state, and that her mouth works, but her brain doesn't.
Right.
And we don't exactly communicate that to him, because the first time we've seen Howard in years was, Eileen, you're going to jail, I'm putting you in jail. That's the Howie that was imparted on us.
Mm-hmm.
So right off of the bat, we just said, holy shit, you know, what the fuck? And so that's our situation, and that's why we're clamming up and not providing documents, and just backing up and just waiting until letting the lawyers do this job, because that's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Not talking to Officer Smith on the curbside on a fishing expedition. So that's sort of the situation with Grandma. Poor Grandma didn't. She said a lot of things, I'm sure. But the evidence and the medical records and the neighbors, the friends, the family, the salon, the Michelle Michaels who does the nails, I mean, they can paint the picture much clearer than how we can through a few, 15-minute phone calls and a single meeting with her.
Right.
And which is also, I can also make the claim that when he took my grandma out, when he extracted my grandmother from the house, which mom's the caretaker, mom's in charge of grandma, it's mom's responsibility to keep grandma safe, and he just came in and took her, and she took her to the memorial where grandpa is, where grandma and grandpa is supposed to go, Grace Memorial, and it was like pouring rain and freezing cold, and she was sick as a dog after that. So Howie paraded her around in the cold, wet rain.
Yeah.
For the attention and everything, and then dumped her back off on mom, and then she gets sick as a dog and dies.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So from our perspective, this is not, and who am I supposed to tell? Because I can't tell this shit to a lawyer.
Yeah.
No lawyer will touch this,
But there's gotta be, did you look up like elder attorneys, like ones that
every single one.
Hedgensbach, is that the one you talked to?
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, because he's out that way.
So I'm sorry.
No,
I threw a bunch of
you're
stuff
fine.
at you here.
You're fine. But like I said, I mean, it's written up as an information report, and you're telling me that you have documents showing that you have power of attorney, you have all of these things, the best I can tell you is, try to find an attorney out of county if you feel like the ones here are not gonna take it, and let them walk you through the best way to protect your mom. I mean, I can't give you legal advice, obviously. If you wanna turn documents over to me to make a part of this to refute what he's saying, you are more than welcome to do that. I understand where you're coming from, but, he's made some claims, and like I said, anybody can say anything they want. So that's up to you what you want to turn over.
And I figure that if he's going about doing all this, it's going to end up in a courtroom regardless.
Mm-hmm.
And so
not criminal right now, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
There's no criminal investigation as of right now.
Yeah, I mean the C word was something that was never a thing until just yesterday, Sunday morning, when Officer Smith starts,
well, it is a C word, it's called civil, it's between attorney and attorney, which is why I'm saying if you feel like you can't get an attorney here to take it, then, if there, I don't know how many attorneys that we have that handle elder, probate or anything of that nature, make some more phone calls and see if you can find somebody and let them advise you on the best way to protect your mom so that he can't, if you feel like he's gonna come back in and try to change paperwork or do something funny, find out the best way to protect her. I know you have power of attorney. Do you have any other family here?
Just my sister, who also, she doesn't live here, she's just here
Okay.
temporarily.
Okay, where does she live?
She's all over the place.
Okay.
She has a house in California, Houston, Texas, Pascagoula, Mississippi,
Okay, yeah.
Alabama.
Well, I was just trying to think if you could, I don't know, maybe the idea if you find an attorney, talk about a guardian for when you guys aren't available, or some kind of home caretaker, at least it's somebody else coming into the house, keeping an eye on her when you're not here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because that's also the other,
Yeah.
thing that I'm dealing with, and that was also going to be my other ask, because of this unique situation, and because of I would go on record claiming abuse of power, and again, he is persona non grata in the house. He's not permitted to be anywhere near the house, but he overrides the guard shack, because the guard shack there at Wellington, they're not employed by Wellington. It's a third party
Like a security company?
security company. And when we tell them when Howard shows up, he's not allowed in. Don't let him in, please. And if he shows you the badge, don't let him in. Well, our policy is that we can't do that. I need some sort of documentation that says, hey, there's a particular situation here where this particular deputy shows up. Don't permit him in.
Okay.
And so
I can't give that to you. You can, if you, like I said, get a copy of the police report on the way out. I'll let them know it's okay for you to get a copy of it. Take all your documents. You can try to file for an injunction against him to protect your mom. And then, if the judge grants it, which I don't know that he will, but you can try, then you give that to the guard shack, and that's what prevents him from going in there. He's not allowed to go in there and have contact with her.
yeah.
You're in a rough spot. I'm not gonna lie to you. There's no easy answer for me to give you, and that's why I'm saying if you've already been looking for an attorney, keep looking, and go sit down with him, give him the paperwork and the police report, and talk to him and try to figure out what the best way to protect your mom, her assets, her health, just everything in general. Like I said, if you want to share the documents, I'm gonna give you my card. It has my email address on the back of it, or if you have questions, you can call me back.
Okay. Can we schedule you to come to Encompass and have a little sit down interview with Mom?
It's gonna be me bringing up all the things that he said.
I think that you would be able
Okay.
to do it, and just having this interaction with you, I would be perfectly fine with all that.
Okay, but wait, and I'm just gonna throw this out there. I don't mind that you're there, but when I do my investigations and I talk to people,
I don't have to be there.
I don't even want you, because that way there's no allegations like, she was influenced by you being in the room or anything of that sort.
100%.
Why don't you're obviously you're gonna go see her and stuff? Okay, find out, because I don't know what kind of scheduling they have her on, if she's in physical therapy or that. So when you go over there, find out what would be a good time for me to stop by Thursday.
Okay.
That way it's kind of scheduled.
I can tell you right off the bat that the evenings would be better.
Okay, I work until 4.
Yeah,
So, I'm
later
here between
afternoon.
7 and 4, so if we can fit it in there, that's, if she's got like a little bit of a break in the middle of the day, and just like I sat here and talked to you, I'm not gonna browbeat her or anything, I'm just gonna have a conversation with her.
She's
I wouldn't do that to
a
her.
little slow and
Yeah.
a little and again, she was always the softie of the family. We referred to her as the anvil, and in a family full of hammers, she was the anvil. So she was always the rock, and the paperwork, the evidence will show that she was an educator her whole life. So she's used to dealing with kids and kids' problems, and being real slow and soft and stuff.
Yeah.
And Howie is the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Right.
So I don't have a problem sitting and talking to her. That's fine. Like I said, I'll ask her point blank about the things, and she can tell me whatever it is that she needs to tell me. And like I said, if you want it documented, at least all that paperwork's on file. It's documented that all these records exist. That way, if anything gets changed, we have it, so that if God forbid something happens and we have to do some kind of investigation down the road, we already have it. But like I said, if you're not comfortable with that, that's completely up to you.
Yeah, because I'm just definitely afraid of giving him any ammunition at all.
That's fine.
To go on. But There's absolutely nothing to hide, and again, there weren't any changes to any documents in the I can't say for sure, several years.
Right.
Right.
That you know of. There's no changes.
There were no
Yeah.
changes.
Yeah.
And you know, because I was grandma's favorite grandchild, and that's one of the personality flaws I have with grandma is that she had the favorite stuff, and she was not abashed to come out and say that. So
Okay.
she was a little rough around the edges, but nothing has changed in the last several years.
Okay.
100% state of mind, and everything will show.
Or if you find an attorney, just tell me who the attorney is. I can refer to the attorney in the report, and that way, God forbid, something happens and we need something, if you guys give us permission, we can get it from the attorney. At least we know where to get the information from.
And I just want to get this claim cleared up, because again, I'm shitting my pants when I have to interact with the sheriff. You
Well,
know,
like I said,
so,
there's nothing to shit in your pants about right now. Like I said, it's an information report, it's allegations, he has nothing concrete, whatever he claims he has, he can't produce. So, I wouldn't even worry about it.
I don't doubt him for 1 second what he has. I don't know what I don't know. And he's a very capable and a very intelligent person.
Well, listen,
So-
he can come forward with whatever he wants. I've had a case that I've had almost 1 year and a half, 2 years now, and it's a whole family situation, brothers and sisters, and pointing fingers at each other and everything I have, and they have videos and recordings and all. Still doesn't prove anything, you know. So you can have what you have. That doesn't mean it's evidence per se. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So really wouldn't stress out about it too much. Like I said, the best thing I think you can do is keep looking around for an attorney, like a elder attorney. I don't even think probate would be appropriate, but and if you can't find one in the county, start looking out of the county and just do what you can to protect your mom.
Okay. Yeah, because that's priority number one. Is
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Keeping her alive.
Yeah,
She's
well,
all I have.
And when you guys go back, you gotta figure out somebody to kind of keep an eye on her. I mean, I know there's companies that have people that come in and check on people, you can just kind of line up what you can to do what's best for her, so at least you have an outside person coming in and to see and interact with her and hear what's going on, and that way if there is something fishy going on, you can rely on that person, because they're mandated reporters. If they feel like there's something not right or something going on, they have to report it.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's about the best advice I can give you.
Understood.
So, I'll leave it on you if you wanna send me the documents, or like I said, if you find an attorney that you're gonna turn the documents over to hold on to, or copies or whatever.
Yeah, and that was sort of my disposition, is that all the appropriate lawyers have all the documents in the world. Why is this cop sniffing around for the?
Well, it's because we don't have them. Somebody's making an allegation and we have nothing to look at, other than, and unfortunately, things like this are common, where people are taking advantage of family and whatever, so, I'm not making excuses for him, I wasn't there. I mean, if you have a beef with him and you wanna file a complaint, that's on you. I can just do what I can do from you for now.
Okay. So
Just call me.
So moving forward, we'll do a for right now, we'll do a tentative Thursday afternoon meeting at Encompass.
Yeah, just let me, like I said, I'm off at 4. And I'd like to at least, maybe 2, no later than 2, that way I'm not rushing her or feeling, I don't want her to feel pressured by anything, but call me and let me know for sure.
Okay.
Okay?
I will. And yeah, because I definitely want to get this straightened up here, because.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, I'm gonna call him and talk to him, just because he made the report and I have to. If you're a complainant on a reporter or a victim or somebody, I have to talk to him.
Yeah.
I don't have to mention that you and I sat and had a conversation. I mean, that I don't have to tell him about. I mean, he doesn't need to know that.
Yeah.
I'll just hear him out and.
Yeah, because I'm telling you, right hand to God here, every single accusation that he made is already disproven with paperwork.
Okay.
Right? So,
I'm telling you, I can't say that if I don't see the paperwork. I can say that you tell me that.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm leaving it on you, that if you want to turn the paperwork over to me, that's fine.
Okay.
Or if you want to bring it with you and at least let me visualize it, at least I can say that, document that these things are inaccurate, and I visually saw it, that, and I'd have to put that you didn't want to turn the documents over to me, which is fine, but at least I can say I verified it through looking at the documents.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're comfortable with that, then I can meet you there.
We'll probably do that, because again, I was just definitely afraid to handing over.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine.
Officer Smith, like, why the fuck are you here?
Yeah.
Why do you wanna see, because again, he was trying to use human judgment to determine whether or not paperwork was legitimate, and I was calling him out. I said, what sort of legal metric are you using to judge whether or not whether this legal document that I'm giving you is legitimate or not? And he couldn't give any sort of rebuttal at all.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you the allegations he gave him are criminal in nature, and if you say you have documents to refute it, it's like he's just trying. Maybe it's the way he approached it, the wording. I don't know. I tend to sit and talk to people like I do with you and explain, like, look, if I don't see it, I can't say that this isn't true. Or if I don't have proof that this is a lie or just false information or unfounded information, then guess what I go by? I go by this.
And I always assumed that this would come from, again, a certified mail from a lawyer making these accusations, not from
not necessarily.
Not from the police coming first, especially when a situation like this happens where probate hasn't begun yet.
Yeah.
It just seems very very out of place how this is happening. This is not uncommon.
A lot of times, like, let's just say Howard called adult services and said, oh, I believe that this person was taken advantage of, and this happened, and this happened. Guess what? Adult services is now involved, and guess who they're going to call to come out with them? A deputy.
Yeah.
Because now there's criminal allegations that are made, and it's got to be investigated. And if there's a victim or somebody taken advantage of, that's our job to figure out what is and what isn't. Like I said, I don't know what his approach was. Maybe it's the way you guys just didn't hit it off. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe he didn't explain it well enough. I don't know. I can only tell you what I know.
Understood.
So, okay, so I'll put you down Thursday at 2, tentatively.
Okay.
But if I don't hear from you, I'm going to assume that we're not doing it. Okay, so that's why I'm saying just call me at this number that's on here. If I'm not here, leave me a message. And then we'll just take it from there.
Okay, sounds good.
All right.
I do appreciate the time you
No
took
problem. You're lucky I was actually in the office because I'm not always at my desk.
Well, I appreciate it.
No problem.
To see if we have somebody in the middle, maybe Nikki's here or whatever, just to send up a comm center's ready to landline with the crisis center anymore, Dave.
Maybe they didn't want to talk to me, but it'd be a crisis.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, let's just